So, as you've probably all heard, Game Freak got hacked. Again. One of the craziest things from this leak being a Typhlosian that tricked a girl into believing that he was a human and having a child with her, where her father then kills him afterwards, leaving the villagers bullying a half Pokemon child by throwing fur at it. Now yes, this is pretty insane, but you gotta figure that at a certain point, Pokemon wasn't as dumbed down as it is right now, and this is all based on real folklore. However, in their defense, they didn't keep these stories in the game, as much as I'd love to hear about how in the world a Lapras would get with a human. But this leak brings so much more to the table than these headlines and YouTube videos might make it seem. And in today's video, we're going to be going over the Pokemon Teraleak. First off, this leak confirms the Switch 2 codename as Ounce. Whatever the hell that's supposed to mean. An ounce of crack cocaine? And there's a new Pokemon game in development for the Switch 2, codenamed Gaia, with two different versions, version K and version N. The leak also mentions a version for the original Switch model, however we will have to wait and see whether it will get released on both. We also have access to the source codes for Platinum, Heart Gold and Soul Silver, Black and White, and Black and White 2. The leaker is also planning to release the full source code of X and Y, and they claim they also have Pokemon Legends Z through A and Generation 10 source code. X and Y information and some Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire will keep coming, but as of now, there's still a lot more that will be released. And speaking of X and Y, Mega Jinx was confirmed as a cut Mega Evolution in that game, having Magic Guard as its ability. After that, the leaks will focus on Switch games, meaning that yes, the modding community will be able to do, and has already started, doing anything they want with the source codes. Pokemon Legends Z through A really surprised people when it was recently announced to be in development. However, the leaker has seemingly already played the game, and it's nearly finished. They claim the main storyline is almost completely done and translated into English, but it's still missing around half the side quest, content, or translations. Mega Zygarde will show up in the new game, as well as Mega Zeraora. It was originally planned for a 2024 release, however it got pushed back, likely to iron out technical issues. And the other details are: 1. Stunfisk is in the game. Number 2. The shiny sound from Pokemon Legends Arceus is back. And 3. The leaker says the game was very enjoyable, even with the lag. There's also an upcoming game codenamed Synapse, and it will be a multiplayer-focused Pokemon game developed in collaboration between Game Freak and Ilka. We don't know if it's an MMO, however, if you didn't know, Ilka helped worked on Pokemon Home, Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, Scarlet and Violet, and Pokemon Sleep. They're not exactly well regarded in the community due to their involvement with some less than stellar entries, but I don't exactly blame them with the material that they were given. But more importantly, we have to consider that yes, Game Freak worked on more than just Pokemon over the decades, and that got leaked too. There was a canceled DS game from them about fighting and raising bugs. There was even a fusion system too, which honestly Pokemon should experiment with one day. They could probably benefit from that. Unknown whether or not this was related to Pokemon, but I'd say it was highly likely. We also got leaks of an unreleased and nearly finished SNES remake of Game Freak's first game, Mendel Palace. And finally an unreleased game titled Present Party. Hundreds of scrap Pokemon designs from Gen 3 to Gen 5 were in here, so I'll put some of them here if you're interested. going over some more specific scans and screenshots here, we have a beta image of the Unova map. Then we have early images of both the title screens for Pokemon White and Pokemon Platinum. And if you're familiar with the e-reader, we've also got high-quality logoless scans of every single e-reader artwork now. There's also images of early UI, overworld tests, a post-game ocean route for Gen 3, and different themed gym exteriors for Heart Gold and Soul Silver. Many people disagreed for years on whether a massive amount of content was cut from Pokemon X and Y, and this leak proves that theory. First off, we've got images of the entire south portion of Kalos, which was scrapped. There was also different early versions for both Kalim and Serena. Diving was originally going to be included in the game, where rather than taking you to a new area, you would just be able to avoid obstacles from above. Shiny Pokemon sparkles were massively dialed back in the final release, which I think was the right choice. And the X and Y battle test was experimenting with a more dynamic camera known as the Masuda camera, which has never since been replicated in any 3D Pokemon game. Only one interesting detail has come out about Pokemon Sun and Moon so far, and that is this storyboard. And speaking of scrap designs, we not only have monsters, but early versions of human characters included in some of these files. Here's a cut version of the black and white intro with a few extra scenes not found in the full game, as well as some early design documents that pertain to the Unova gym leaders. And speaking of scrapped cutscenes, we also have a beta version of the Kalos War cutscene, which had a different AZ design and Garatina. And fun fact about AZ, he was actually planned to be the leader of Team Flare. Lysander didn't even exist yet. And there's also some never-before-released bangers from these Pokemon leaks, and I think you need to take a listen to some of them. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. There was a swell of chaos. Everything slowly mixed together, and everything was unclear, until one day, a large egg appeared in the center. The egg continued to sway there. When the swell stopped, the egg spilled out and broke. The absolute god Aus was born. The scattered pieces of the shell transformed into giants, and attacked the newly born Aus one after another. However, Aus continued to grow rapidly and continued to fight the giants. A fierce battle ensued, but finally Aus defeated all of the giants. Wounded, Aus decided to create an alter ego. As the left and right sides of their body looked different, he decided to create two alter egos. Aus gathered the bodies of the giants he had defeated and poured his own blood into them. When the alter ego, modeled after his left side, was born, the area was filled with light. Aus named it Ea, the god of light. When the one who resembled his right side was born, time began to flow. Aus named him the god of time. Aus commanded them to create a world of prosperity and abundance for their people, and they fell into a deep sleep. When Ea neighed loudly, there flooded the place with light. After Ea walked, a glow extended and gently illuminated the area. When Ea neighed loudly, time was released there. After Ea walked, everything began to move slowly. A vessel was created there to hold the world. Though the forms of Ea and Air were very different, they loved each other and had 3 children. Re, the god of eyes, I, the god of hearts, and Hai, the god of voices, were born. When Re awoke, all things appeared there. Colors and contours were born. When I wished, everything was felt there. A sense of calm spread. When Hai shouted, everything trembled there. A happy tone began to echo. Aya and Air gave the 3 the seed of life and commanded them to nurture it. As the 3 prayed in a circle, the seed of life sprouted. The sprout grew and grew, eventually becoming a giant tree of life. However, the tree of life, which never stopped growing, soon filled every nook and cranny. No one was able to move. The 3 of them had no choice but to cut down the tree of life. Re wrapped his body around the tree of life. I and Hai slammed their bodies into the tree of life. Soon, the tree of life collapsed and shattered into 3 pieces. The 3 prayed again, lamenting the fact that the tree of life would decay away. Then 3 deities descended on the pieces of the tree of life. Lakuza, god of sky, Radon, god of the earth, and Kyogre, god of the ocean. The shattered tree of life transformed into the sky, the earth, and the sea, respectively. Lakuza transformed into the main pillar that holds up the heavens. Its shadow, soaring through the sky, became the god who sustains the heavens, called Kaiju. The atmosphere enveloped the sky, and the stars twinkled. Alright, so there's a couple more stories in these leaks that are pretty crazy. One is called The Original Sin based on the current Pokemon world. The second one is called The Relationship Between Humans and Pokemon. The Collapse of Culture and Relationships. I don't want this video to get demonetized, so I'm just gonna leave that there for you. A lot of Pokemon movie and anime series are in the leaks as well. First of which being a sequel to Detective Pikachu, The Great Detective Pikachu. It's been in development since 2021, and it's unknown if it's been delayed or canceled. The 24th Pokemon movie, codenamed Bower, originally set for 2023, was a reboot aiming for an adult audience. The plot initially was centered in modern Kanto and included themes such as cyberbullying and suicide. The executives thought that this was too much, so it's since been reworked. The key artwork also shows us a glimpse at what could be a brand new Pokemon, reportedly called Aperon. A new Pokemon anime, codenamed Reload, is set to be co-produced with Twin Engine for 12 episodes, and it should be streaming on platforms like Netflix and Amazon Prime. And the weirdest of all of these multimedia projects, in my opinion, is the planned live-action trilogy series, codenamed Game Boy. It focuses on themes of bonds between friends and Pokemon, addressing trauma and the evolution of said relationships. I might have said some negative things about the Pokemon franchise on this channel, but I have to hand it to them on this one. It's looking like they're tackling a lot of new ideas now. There are even pages discussing how Ash's journey needed to come to an end, and for what it's worth, they even compiled fan feedback for the games. I'm very impressed by it. This is by far the craziest leak I've seen in not only Game Freak history, but in gaming in general. Sure, things like the GTA 6 leak, Nintendo Giga leak, and some of Game Freak's own stuff has leaked before. But in my opinion, this is probably the craziest and coolest news I've seen from the franchise in a long time. Do I condone the way that this was handled? No, but I don't think that we would have gotten this information otherwise. I'd like to see them try and prevent me from talking about it. So what do you guys think? Are you surprised surprised by these leaks? Do you want to play the new games, the old games, the anime, and multiple movies coming out, or are you still going to boycott each and every one of them? Let me know down below, and as always, have a great day. And speaking of cutscenes, and speaking of, oh god.